Hello, and welcome to the Halcyon Show.
It's annoying, isn't it? Hi there, my name's Lauren Wisely, I'm going to be your host for this episode, and welcome to what is effectively an impromptu review. A few days ago I was sent a notification by my good friend Defunct Games Cyril. You should go and check out his channel and go send him all the presents.
Just do it!
To a game called She Sees Red, a game by developer Rhinotales Games, a Russian-produced short film / interactive game, currently retailing for around $8 and with a runtime of 30 minutes to 4 hours depending on how long it takes you to play each decision and play out each scenario and pick every choice. The idea being that you basically pick multiple options throughout the course of the game using live action scenes that progress the plot. Here's the problem as a reviewer that I have. I can't really say anything without spoiling it for you. This game is plot heavy, the game is narrative heavy. There's not a lot I can say without ruining it, just to say that I was blown away by the twist that comes. You can't really say in the end because it doesn't really come at the end, it kind of comes whenever it comes because again you have a multitude of options. So instead let's talk about how the game's put together, let's talk about the game's presentation, let's talk about how the game feels. I would argue that this game makes me feel a little bit of John Wickness. The Russian link is obviously very obvious, and the name She Sees Red, double entendre, I can't tell you why, again, spoilers and that. But you can't escape the production quality of this game. It's in the initial release, I believe, and it's produced so wonderfully. The cinematography is absolutely magnificent. The way that the tracking shots follow the characters, the way the characters interact with each other, the placement of the props, the setup of the scenes, the lighting, the music, the tone that it sets for you, it's all really rather interesting, considering that I would argue that if not for that twist, this isn't the most interesting story ever. But the way it's shot and presented to you, it kept me engrossed for the first playthrough, and after I'd seen some of what had happened, and again this is another thing to the game's credit, the multiple playthroughs do yield different endings and different story arcs, to a degree, I wanted to see what the second one was, even though the game obviously recommends play it through more than one time, every game in the world says that, but in this case I felt the need to do so, and I'm glad I did. The other thing to talk about in this game is the responsiveness of everything. It all works really well. I didn't encounter any bugs or glitches, which again is probably to be expected considering the nature of the game. The menu options are limited, but again that's because the game really doesn't have that much to offer you in terms of gameplay, what you can tweak about it. You can tweak, because it's a Russian production, everything is dubbed, hence the poorly contrived joke at the beginning of this video, but you can alter it to different subtitles, and you can still keep the you can alter it to different voiceovers, the original Russian I believe, and have subtitles. I didn't use that because, to be honest, even though you can tell quite quickly some of the lines are recorded in English, some of them are recorded in Russian, it doesn't necessarily take you out of the experience. What does take you out of the experience a little bit is some of the lines in this, some of them are just a little bit.
Because apparently, the killer knew that there's only one man who would get the complete report.
Are you serious? Just because I own this club, you think I'm a bad guy too, is that right?
Hello! It's me, the devil!
Cartoony is the best way of saying it, which is, considering that this is a game that opens with a man who's been stabbed in the ear, cartoony isn't the word I want to equate to your story. It is a tricky one to recommend to gamers, and the reason being is there's just not that much gameplay here. In terms of an interactive movie experience, I'm not well versed in those. The kinds of experiences I can remember in terms of maybe interactive movies that had more gameplay interspersed from them is something really old school, like Under a Killing Moon, or the Rebel Assault games, I believe they were called. I remember the initial gameplay phase being in a B-wing, landing on Tatooine and then battling through, which was a lot of pre-rendered and pre-shot scenes, but they were all interspersed with gameplay. This game has nothing. You have two choices in any given scenario and you have a time limit to pick them. But here's the thing. While some people may argue the fact that this game lacks value because, I mean, it's $8, which for an indie game these days is not cheap. I think that's probably, with the exception of Summer Sports Games, is the most expensive game that I've reviewed so far. Here's the thing though. Think of a DVD release, think of a movie release. You might only get one use out of that before you put it to one side and you forget you even have it, or you just pay that for a monthly subscription to Netflix. This game does offer you replayability. It's taken me an hour to crack 2 endings. Potentially there are 4, and there's going to be a myriad of different choices, which may not lead to necessarily different variations, but at least you will have seen everything that the game has to offer you. The cinematography, again, is television Netflix level quality. The choreography of the fight scenes. I mean, there's a scene, for instance, without spoiling too much of what happens, where the main plot thread is there is a attacker, an intruder, a murderer, a killer, who's making his way through a club. And it's the job of the investigator to try and track them down, kind of flanked or shadowed by these very seedy looking individuals. In the midst of this story, there's a combat scene between this killer, intruder, attacker, and one of the henchmen. And because I've started getting into MMA, some of the attacks, some of the moves, I really loved because they look realistic. The attacks, the oblique kicks to the joints, the triangle choke, the Kimura lock, the guillotine choke to finish off the baddie at the end of the fight. It was all very well done, and even with the twist ending, very, very believable.
A few moments later.
You can do it! Cut his f***ing head off!
So would I recommend this game? At that price point, probably not. I'd say you'd have to knock it down a couple of bucks to make it competitive. But then again, this game couldn't have been that cheap to make, considering again the value of the production quality here, the level of cinematography, and the overall quality and finish. The acting is pretty good too. Nothing amazing, but it's still pretty good. I'd say knock it down a couple of bucks, and you've got yourself a really, really cool little game here. Again, it's tough to recommend to gamers, but as a casual audience, who might just be looking for a cool experience, a little niche experience, then this game isn't the worst thing in the world. And it's certainly good for a first attempt in the next game if they can incorporate some kind of gameplay element, be it interspersed with some actual gameplay, shooting mechanics, as much as I'm loath to say it, quick time events, maybe, I don't know, but it's a good first try. And I really enjoyed it for what it was worth. She Sees Me Red has a good plot thread throughout. It has a surprising twist. Its overall production is good. So there's not really a lot to hate apart from the fact that it's just a genre of game that typically doesn't offer people very much after one playthrough. This game, though, kind of does. So you'll be free to make your judgment on it. I would again recommend probably just waiting for the price to drop and then going out and purchasing it once it's at a more reasonable costing price. But it's a good first attempt, and I'll be eager to see what Rhinotales games have in store for us next. But we'll have to wait and see. Shout out to Defunct Games who gave me the shout out for this, and please go check out his review. It's slightly shorter than this, so it'll probably save you time if you just watch that one. And screw it, I can't help myself. This is the big spoiler alert thing here. This is the bit you shouldn't watch if you're actually going to go play this game. You shouldn't watch this. I'm going to talk about this just because I feel I really need to, because it's my favorite thing about this game, the twist. Turns out the detective is the killer, and the game developers and the producers do an exceptional job of masking this fact from you. I was completely fooled, and when I played the game the next time around, you notice it, and it's still not clear as day, but you can start to pick the pieces together and it makes so much sense. And that's the best compliment I could pay this game, is that, yes, it's got its flaws, but that thread and that hook and that twist making me want to play the whole game again, mwah! It made the emotional connection that a game needs to make. And on that basis alone, I would probably recommend it again at that reduction. If it weren't for that, probably not, because it's just, it's cool cinematography. Anyone can do that shit. But because of that little emotional investment at the end and the stark differences of the endings that you can get, I'd recommend this one. I think it's definitely worth a look. So, sorry for spoiling it. I hope I've put in the bottom here what time that you're going to need to skip to in order to miss the spoiler. Yeah, I'm definitely not lazy enough to do that, so good work for me, well done me. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching this impromptu edition of the Halcyon Show. Please like, share and subscribe. Check out some of the other content that I've been producing recently. I think you'll find it to be rather agreeable. Please also go check out some of the content creators in the description below, including Defunct Games, who reviewed this game, depending on when this video comes out, probably 2 or 3 years ago, giving my normal time frames, but by all means still go check it out. And also keep an eye out for any other reviews that are going to be coming. I'm going to try and keep up and produce as much as I can, as often as I can, so we'll see what happens. Your Emperor is busy, but your Emperor is a kind, generous, benevolent, well-dressed emperor. So thank you very much once again for watching. I've been your host, Lon Risley. Please feel free to go and follow me on Twitter. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of The Halcyon Show.